My husband and I have been together for 7 years, and I have been the breadwinner for 4 of those years while my husband stays at home and cares for our 5-year-old son and 5-month-old daughter. My husband has no income. He is a stay-at-home dad since he has some physical problems. We manage all our finances on one income. I make a decent wage, so we live comfortably. We are pretty frugal. We live in a nice home, but we also have a lot of bills like loans, mortgages, and other expenses, which leaves very little for fun, but we manage to take a yearly vacation to Los Angeles yearly. My husband has a car and access to our joint account that I balance every month. This is our only bank account. Before my husband quit his job, he closed his bank account and we opened the joint one. To my knowledge, he doesn't have his own account at any bank. For our 6-year anniversary, my husband surprised me with a very lavish trip to Guam. He left our children with his parents. They flew in from California to care for them at our home. My husband told me that this trip was a gift from his grandmother to us, which was a bit out of character because his family members have a hard time making ends meet, but his grandmother's health is failing, and he said that she wanted to do something nice for us. I didn't question any further. We had an amazing time in Guam. We ate at the best restaurants, did exciting excursions, and had relaxing spa treatments that were all paid for before we arrived. I did not have to spend a dime, only on souvenirs and clothing. I wanted to call his grandmother to thank her for her very kind gift, as it was obvious she had spent a pretty penny on this vacation for us. My husband insisted that I didn't call her because he had already thanked her for it, and she just wanted us to have a good time kid-free. Then we returned from Guam, and everything is going smoothly. We were preparing for the arrival of our children. My husband was responsible for ordering everything he needed for the baby, and he managed to get most of their needs and only spent $300. Recently, his grandmother unfortunately passed away, and he flew to California to be with his family. I had to stay behind and care for the children and complete some work obligations. The bassinet for our 5-month-old wasn't working as it should, so I looked for some troubleshooting options online and discovered that this was more than $1,000 bassinet. I knew for sure that this was not gifted to my husband because we had discussed what he had purchased for the new child, and the bassinet was part of the $300. I also know that he did not buy it second-hand because I was the one who received the delivery at home and it came factory sealed. This made me curious about the other items our children had and discovered that many of their baby gear is rather expensive and would have cost way more than $300. All these items were purchased new. I am lost for words here because my husband doesn't have any friends. He is very dedicated to being a homemaker and doesn't interact with many people outside of his family, if any at all. I know that he didn't use any of our money to purchase these items, as I managed the account closely and would have noticed if $1 was missing. I checked our Credit Karma, and my husband does not have any accounts listed under his name and I wouldn't know about. I checked his email and Amazon to see if I would find the receipts for these purchases and only found the $300 one, which mainly includes miscellaneous baby items like clothes and swaddle blankets. This discovery had me at a loss. I want to confront my husband immediately, but I don't think this is the right time as he's grieving. What is the best way to deal with this situation? I'm afraid of what else I might uncover. Around 2016, back when I was a proud mother of 2, living with my husband in a regional town in northwest US, I was home cooking breakfast and getting everyone sorted while my son, Dan, 5 at the time, and daughter, Rachel, 3 at the time, were happily watching television, which was a rare treat whenever my husband was asleep. As I was finishing up, I called the kids over, shouting, "Breakfast's ready, come get your plate." My daughter dutifully comes, opens the cupboard doors, and picks up the dog plates. Not her usual choice, but I shrug and hold her plate as I'm stirring the pot and letting the food simmer. I shout again towards the TV, "Dan, come get your plate." Dan strolls lazily towards the kitchen stove with his eyes still glued to the screen. He looks into the cupboard and then round the kitchen before his eyes dart towards Rachel and me, dog plate in tow, and proclaims, "I want the dog plate." "Rachel has already chosen it. Choose something else," I replied as I started serving the food. "But, look, I called you earlier for breakfast and asked you to come get your plate. Rachel came immediately when I called while you took your sweet time. You know my rule, first come, first serve. Unless you can convince Rachel to trade with you, go grab another plate." As tears began to swell, I glared at him with a mental, "Don't you dare." Resigning himself to his fate, he dejectedly goes back to the cupboard and finds a lesser prize. Scrolling through the choices, he dries his eyes immediately as he found a suitable substitute, the cat plate. He hands it to me, in all its glory facing deliberately towards my daughter. Her eyes widen and she squeals, "I want the cat plate." I visibly and loudly sigh, rolling my eyes before turning to Dan. "Do you want to trade?" He shrugs his shoulders and coolly replies, "Yeah, whatever." He made me proud that day. I don't know if this is actually revenge, but a comment I made in a different sub reminded me of this event from 25 years ago, and it feels a little like harmless revenge to me. I worked at a small office of a much larger organization headquartered elsewhere. The place was a seething snake pit of office politics, and the parent organization was even worse. From the first day, everyone gossiped about everyone else to me, so I didn't tell them anything I could avoid telling them, because I knew anything I said would immediately be told to everyone in the office and weaponized when they wanted to use it. I did assume anyone who spent 5 minutes with me would know or at least suspect I'm gay. I was 50-something, not married, not macho, etc. 2 of my female coworkers decided that since I was single and didn't look like a player, I must be a virgin, and it was fun for them to try and make me blush. Thus, lots of sexual jokes and innuendo. Apparently, it was their job to tease me to have sex with women. I would just walk away and never speak to them about anything not work-related and absolutely necessary. I've been there for 10 months and knew I wouldn't last a year. They decided to go full-on mean girls and filed multiple complaints about me, but there wasn't anything to complain about that was an actual infraction. So eventually one of them lied to HR and said I was calling our superior the bitch, see you next Monday. Like I was stupid enough to say that to people who were making my life miserable and who would have instantly gone to our superior with it. One of the 2 was named Alina. I don't know if she's the one who made the initial accusation, but she and her friend all lied to HR and said it happened in front of the 2 of them. I was fired for supposedly calling our superior that word, and along with a lot of self-righteous anger about it all, I got a better job and moved on. 2 years later, around Christmas time, I was in the post office and someone called my name. I turned to look, and for some reason, when I saw her face, I exclaimed, "Daisy!" like it was someone I was thrilled to see. I don't even know anyone named Daisy, have never known anyone named Daisy, and have no idea why I called her that. But then I said, "No, that's not right." She looked like I'd thrown some water in her face and said, "Alina." I said, "Ah, yeah, Alina. I'm glad to see you because I need to thank you and everyone back there because all the lies you told and the nasty things you did to me to get me fired turned out to be the best thing that had ever happened to me. I have a great job now with people I love and I make a ton more money, and it's all thanks to you and everyone there." She suddenly looked like she'd bitten into a lemon and said, "Well, you have a nice Christmas holidays," and I walked away. You can imagine in a crowded post office around Christmas time when a gay man exclaims, "Daisy!" All heads turned to look. It was a small post office, but there were still around 7 to 8 people watching while she corrected her name, and I called her a liar who got me fired. Remembering it made me laugh, and I haven't even thought of that woman in 10 or so years.